Thinking of moving to the Oklahoma City area, but your understanding of the Oklahoma weather is a little bit foggy? Let's clear that up for you. Thanks so much for joining us here today. So I've mentioned on this channel before that Oklahoma can experience extreme weather conditions, which I'm sure many of you have heard and hence why you probably clicked on this video. Truth is, Oklahoma City has many great things to celebrate, and one of them is certainly that we get to experience 4 very distinct seasons. But what can you expect in terms of weather within those 4 seasons? Well, today we're going to try to make that a little less cloudy for you. But first, if you're thinking about moving to the Oklahoma City area, whether in the next few weeks or even few months from now, I would absolutely love the opportunity to help you make a smooth move here to the OKC area. You're going to find all my contact information in the description below, so feel free to shoot me a call, a text, or an email. I'll certainly get right back to you and see what I can do to help you buy that perfect home here in the OKC area. Now with that said, let's talk about the Oklahoma weather. Alright, first things first, let's jump into some general stats. When it comes to annual rainfall, Oklahoma has quite a range depending on where you live within the state. For instance, about 17 inches on average in the Panhandle versus about 56 inches down in the southeast part of the state. Now, right here in the OKC area, on average, we see about 36 inches of rainfall every year. And that amounts to an average of about 83 days per year where rain occurs here in Oklahoma City, compared to the rainiest parts of the state where they get a little over 100 days per year. Now, if you look at a comparison of the averages throughout the US, of the 50 states, we rank number 30 in rainfall, the wettest state being Hawaii and the driest, Nevada. Now, looking at annual snowfall, the state of Oklahoma sees around 6 inches on average per year of snow. In Oklahoma City, that average reaches closer to 8 inches. In comparison to the rest of the US, Oklahoma ranks number 37, the snowiest state being Vermont, and the least snowy being Hawaii. Average temperatures throughout the year here in Oklahoma are around 60 degrees Fahrenheit, with the normal range being between 30 and 94 degrees, with rare temperatures above 102 and below 17 degrees Fahrenheit. Average number of sunny days here in Oklahoma per year, right around 235 days, compared to the US average of just over 200. So it's pretty sunny here. Winter in Oklahoma technically is between December and February, with the coldest months being January and February. Usually the coldest days during the winter, at least in my experience, tend to be in February. Here in Oklahoma City, it seems like we typically get somewhere between 1 and 3 days where it snows here during the winter. And on average, that will add up to somewhere between 6 and 8 inches of total snow. Now, if that ends up getting spread across 2 or 3 occurrences of snow, it doesn't tend to be all that disruptive. Other times, however, a light snow can sometimes be followed by a nice sheet of freezing rain, which can make driving conditions, well, questionable. Now, sometimes we'll get all of that year's snow in one occurrence, and in those cases, I'll be honest, it seems to shut down the entire city for a day or two. Many businesses and schools will close, snacks will be had, and you can pretty much expect a good amount of the drivers on the road will suddenly forget the basic fundamentals of driving. What's worse is, sometimes with these snowier days, you'll have the sun come out and melt a good amount of that down, and then it just freezes again overnight, and the next day, you've got road conditions that are probably more suitable for the ice capades. Also, something else to know about Oklahoma winters, sometimes with these freezing temperatures we'll get no snow at all, but instead we get freezing rain, aka an ice storm. In these instances, it can really shut things down. This can often come with frozen power lines, frozen trees, which in turn tree branches can snap under the added weight of the ice, and then snap the power lines beneath them, causing widespread outages. Now, normally when this occurs, it happens during those winter months. However, the worst of these ice storms in recent history was actually in October in 2020, which led to about 300,000 homes statewide without power, some of which were out for almost 2 weeks. But aside from these extreme scenarios, believe it or not, winters are largely fairly mild, with actually some nice days sprinkled throughout those months. Spring here in Oklahoma tends to poke its head out starting around March and last through the end of May into early June. Here in Oklahoma City, the spring temperatures typically range from around 60 into about the mid-80s. While you'll start to experience some really beautiful days and moderate temperatures during this time, this season is also the peak time for rain here in Oklahoma City. And unfortunately, spring, you'll also see the increase of severe thunderstorms and tornado watches, May being the highest risk. Average winds here in Oklahoma City is around 12 miles per hour, so it's always just a little bit windy, but during a thunderstorm, winds can get as high as 60 miles an hour or even higher. These thunderstorms can also occasionally produce hail, and when they do, they're usually around dime to nickel size. But on rare occasions, you will see hail that's golf ball size or maybe even a little larger. So for this reason, it is wise to have a garage for your cars or at least a carport. I have neither, so I guess you could say I'm a little bit of a rebel. Now, while we're here, Can we talk about tornadoes for a minute? This is probably the most common question I get from people looking to relocate here. And for good reason. Oklahoma is located in the heart of Tornado Alley, which is one of the most tornado-prone areas in the US. Oklahoma as a state is actually the #3 state with the most tornadoes, behind #2 Kansas and #1 Texas, which many people are surprised to find out that Texas has more tornadoes than Oklahoma. In fact, Texas has nearly twice the tornadoes that we have here. So how many tornadoes do we have here in Oklahoma City every year? Well, on average, there are around 5 tornadoes in Oklahoma City. But I think it's important to determine what constitutes a tornado. A tornado occurs when a storm called a supercell creates a funnel cloud of rotating wind that persists long enough to extend and connect to the ground. Now, I'm not a meteorologist, but that's the basic premise. So understanding that, it's important to realize that any funnel cloud that touches the ground for any amount of time is technically a tornado. When talking about tornadoes here in Oklahoma, it's likely that you're aware of the 2 major catastrophic tornadoes we've had here in recent history. The May 3rd, 1999 tornado and the May 20th, 2013 tornado, both of which were EF5 tornadoes producing over 200-mile-per-hour winds and unfortunately killed 60 people between those 2 storms. Without question, those were devastating storms that led to many lost lives and widespread property destruction. However, it's important to note that those are very rare EF5 situations that make up less than 2% of the tornadoes that occur here in Oklahoma. The vast majority of tornadoes that touch ground here in Oklahoma have winds of less than 110 miles per hour, constituting an EF1, which often cause little to no damage, and as a result, you don't even hear about these. It's also worth noting that here in Oklahoma, we have some of the highest level of weather technology in the world, and often as a result, we are made aware of conditions that might lead to a tornado several days in advance. So all in all, tornadoes, yes, they happen. But here are some fun facts. You're statistically more likely to die from a falling coconut, falling down a set of stairs, or by a hippo attack than you are to die in a tornado, and that's just a true story. Summer in Oklahoma spans from around mid-June until often it seems around mid-September, and it can get very hot and often pretty humid. A lot of the humidity we experience here comes as a result of the wind coming from the south out of Texas, who for some reason think we need some of their humid air coming off the Gulf. No thanks, Texas. Average temperatures during the summer can range anywhere from about the mid-80s to the mid-90s, and we also often have anywhere between 30 and 40 days where the temperature will reach around 100 at some point during the day. And we do see those days that get even hotter. With far less rain here during the summer versus the spring, we do have occasional stretches of drought, but we do occasionally see summer showers as well, but definitely less likely to see thunderstorms like we do during the spring. All in all, if you can handle the hot temperatures, the summer does bring plenty of really nice sunny days where you can enjoy time out at the parks, the pools, or even at the lake, which is most certainly an Oklahoma pastime. Oklahoma starts experiencing fall weather starting around September and usually through around the end of November. September and October generally bring more rain showers than we've seen all summer, and that usually helps bring in the cooler temperatures throughout those months pretty quickly, and it especially starts to cool down as we get into November. Fall is definitely my favorite time of year. These cooler temperatures just make for optimal outdoor activities. Also here in Oklahoma, we get the pleasure of seeing the seasons change as the trees all start to turn beautiful colors, typically around the end of October and usually into the first week or 2 of November. So you really have to make an effort to enjoy those beautiful colors in that short period of time because they seem to go as quickly as they arrived. During this time is really when I like to take advantage of hiking, outdoor activities, walks at the park, and even into December, which is technically the start of winter. Oftentimes we get a little bit of an extension of fall up to about Christmas. All in all, fall is really one of the most beautiful times of the year here in Oklahoma, and it really tends to bring that basic pumpkin spice girl latte out of me. So what's the weather like where you live? Comment down below. I'd love to hear how we compare. I think weather is something that people generally find really interesting about Oklahoma, so I really just love sharing my perspective on this topic. And speaking of interesting, if you'd like to hear about some really interesting and maybe even weird things about Oklahoma, tap the screen right here to check out this video. And guys, until next time, I certainly hope to see you soon. See ya.